A 35-year-old Japanese CEO clutched his chest in a Nebraska diner, calling desperately for help in his native language while strangers stared in confusion. Then, a 7-year-old blonde girl stepped forward and answered him in perfect Japanese. The daughter he didn't know existed, who'd been teaching herself his language since age 4, hoping somehow he'd hear her and come home. Before we dive into the story, take a moment and tell us where you're watching from. It helps new viewers find stories like this. Hiro Tanaka had conquered boardrooms across 3 continents, but tonight he was powerless in Murphy's diner, waves of panic crashing through his chest.
助けてください。誰か。
He gasped. "Help me, please, someone!" 16 hours of running from his father's ultimatum finally breaking him. "Does anyone speak Japanese?" called Sarah Johnson, the exhausted waitress with blonde hair escaping her ponytail. A small figure emerged from behind the counter. Emma Johnson, barely reaching the panicking man's waist, approached with surprising confidence. "Daijoubu desu ka? Nani ga okashi no desu ka?" Emma asked in flawless Japanese. "Are you okay? What's wrong?" The diner fell silent. Every head turned toward the 7-year-old speaking a language she had no business knowing. Hiro's eyes widened in shock as Emma switched to English. "He's having trouble breathing and his heart hurts. Someone call 911. "How do you know Japanese, sweetheart?" a trucker asked. But Emma was already back to Hiro, speaking gentle Japanese. "Yukuri kokyū shite kudasai. Breathe slowly." The paramedics arrived within minutes. Emma had already guided Hiro through breathing exercises, translating everything with precision that stunned the room. "Severe anxiety attack combined with exhaustion," the paramedic reported. As they prepared him for transport, Hiro grabbed Emma's hand. "Anata wa tenshi desu," he whispered. "You are an angel." After the ambulance left, Sarah knelt before her daughter. "Emma, where did you learn Japanese?" Emma looked up with those unusual blue eyes. "From anime, Mama. I wanted to understand without subtitles. I've been practicing for 3 years." 3 years? You learned an entire language and never told me? You're always so tired. I didn't want to bother you. Sarah's heart cracked. Her brilliant daughter had been hiding this gift because she didn't want to be a burden. 3 days later, Hiro returned to Murphy's diner in an impeccable navy suit. His eyes found Emma working on homework, and something in his chest tightened, a recognition he couldn't yet name. "Tanaka-san, genki ni narimashita ka?" Emma's face brightened. "Did you get better?" "Hai, okage-sama de," Hiro replied, sliding into her booth. "Yes, thanks to you. Your Japanese is extraordinary for someone so young. Where did you learn to speak so fluently?" "From anime, mostly. I started when I was 4. Emma showed him her composition notebook filled with hiragana, katakana, and kanji characters. Hiro flipped through pages with increasing amazement. This was university-level work. "What grade are you in?" "2nd grade, but it's kind of boring." Sarah joined them, wiping her hands on her apron. "The school says she's academically advanced, but they don't have programs for gifted children in our district." Hiro felt that familiar pang of recognition. He remembered being Emma's age, suffocating in classrooms that moved too slowly. "Has anyone tested Emma's IQ?" "We can't afford that kind of testing," Sarah admitted quietly. Hiro pulled out a business card. "I sponsor educational programs for gifted children through my company. Emma saved my life. I'd like to help her develop her abilities." "Mr. Tanaka, that sounds expensive." "It would be my gift to Emma. No strings attached." Emma looked between them. "Mama, it's not charity if I earned it by helping someone, right? Can I think about it?" Sarah asked. "Of course," Hiro said, standing to leave. As Hiro gathered his things, his hand accidentally scattered Emma's homework papers. Sarah bent to help, and Hiro found himself staring at the heading written in careful script. Emma Catherine Johnson, Grade 2. Johnson. Sarah Johnson. He looked up at the waitress, really looked for the first time, and the world tilted sickeningly. "Sarah," he whispered. "Sarah Wilson?" Sarah froze, papers clutched in her hands. The use of her maiden name made her blood run cold. "How do you know that name?" But Hiro was staring at Emma now, at those unusual blue-gray eyes, the Tanaka eyes that ran in his family for generations, at the delicate features that suddenly looked heartbreakingly familiar. 7.5 years ago, Hiro had been in Nebraska on business. He'd fallen in love with a waitress named Sarah Wilson, and when she'd told him she was pregnant, when she'd begged him to stay, he'd gotten on a plane back to Tokyo anyway. He'd chosen his father's approval over her, over their child. "Sarah," he said again, voice breaking. "How old is Emma?" "Don't," Sarah said, backing away. "Don't you dare." "7. She's 7 years old." Hiro's hands were shaking. "And I think we need to talk." The diner had emptied for the afternoon lull. Emma sat at the counter with a milkshake while Sarah and Hiro occupied a back booth, 8 years of silence between them. "When did you figure it out?" Sarah asked, voice carefully controlled. 2 minutes ago. When I saw her name, realized her age, saw her eyes. Sarah, I swear I didn't know about Emma." "You didn't know?" Sarah's voice cracked with fury. "Hiro, I was 6 months pregnant when you got on that plane. You knew. I told you. I begged you to stay." Hiro closed his eyes. "I know." "Do you? Do you have any idea what the last 7 years have been like? Working 3 jobs to barely make rent? Watching my brilliant daughter hide her gifts because she's learned not to ask for things we can't afford." "I'm sorry." "Sorry?" Sarah laughed bitterly. "Your father said if you stayed with me, he'd disown you. And you chose the money. You chose him." I was 27 and terrified. I told myself I was being mature, responsible. But the truth is, I was a coward. I sacrificed the only real thing I'd ever had because I was too weak to stand up to my father. Sarah stared at him, tears streaming. "Do you know what she did when I told her about you? When she was 4 years old and asked why she didn't have a daddy like other kids?" "What?" "I told her the truth. That her father was Japanese, that he'd gone back to his country, that he'd chosen his family's money over us. And she started learning Japanese." Sarah's voice broke. "A 4-year-old, teaching herself a foreign language because she thought maybe, somehow, if she could speak to you, you might come back." The words destroyed him. Hiro felt like someone had reached into his chest and crushed his heart. Oh, God. Sarah, you had 7 years to find us. You had every resource in the world and you chose not to use them. You're right. I chose cowardice every single day. And I would have kept choosing it if Emma hadn't saved my life in that diner. Emma suddenly appeared beside the booth. "Mama, why are you crying?" Sarah pulled Emma into her lap. "It's complicated, grown-up stuff, sweetheart." Emma studied Hiro's face with that unsettling intensity. "You have the same eyes as me, and your chin looks like mine." The booth fell silent. Emma, Hiro said softly in Japanese. Watashi wa anata no otosan desu. I am your father. Emma's eyes widened. She looked at her mother, who nodded slowly. You're my daddy? Emma whispered. The one who went away? Yes. I made a terrible mistake. I chose money over you and your mother. I was a coward, and you both suffered because of my weakness. Emma sat very still. Is that why you wanted to help me? Because you felt guilty? At first, yes. But Emma, even if you weren't my daughter, you would still be extraordinary. You saved my life. You showed me more kindness in 5 minutes than I've shown the people who mattered most in 8 years. Do you love my mama? Hiro looked at Sarah. Yes. I never stopped. Sarah laughed bitterly. You don't get to say that. You don't get to walk back into our lives after 8 years and— Mama, Emma interrupted. I think we should listen. In anime, people make mistakes and then try to fix them. That's how you know who the good people are. They try to get better. Hiro pulled out his phone. My father is here, in America. He's demanded I meet him tomorrow. He wants me to return to Japan immediately and accept an arranged marriage to merge our company with another family. I have to tell him about you. About Emma. Sarah's eyes hardened. What are you going to do? I don't know. For the first time in my life, I genuinely don't know what I'm going to do. We're coming with you, Emma said firmly. Both adults stared at her. If Tanaka-san is my daddy, then the mean grandfather is my family too. And family should meet each other. Sarah looked at her daughter, then at Hiro. Okay, we'll come. But Hiro, if you fold under pressure again, if you choose him over us one more time, we're done. Emma deserves a father who fights for her. I understand. That night, Hiro received a text from his father. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., my sweet, you will make the right choice, or you will lose everything. For the first time in his life, Hiro typed back, I'll be there. And I'm bringing someone. He pressed send, then pulled up the photo he'd taken of Emma and Sarah laughing together at the diner. Tomorrow he would face his father. Tomorrow he would choose between the empire he'd been born into and the family he'd abandoned. This time, he knew which choice he needed to make. Whether he'd have the courage was another question entirely. The Omaha Grand Hotel's executive suite was imposing, all marble and cold elegance. Hiro stood outside at 9:55 a.m., heart hammering. Beside him, Sarah held Emma's hand, jaw set with determination. Emma wore her yellow dress and carried her Japanese notebook like a shield. You don't have to do this, Hiro said quietly. Yes, we do, Sarah replied. Besides, Emma added, heroes never face the final boss alone. A severe-looking assistant opened the door. Tanaka-sama wa omachi shiteimasu, she said in Japanese, then switched to English. Mr. Tanaka is waiting. He was not informed you would be bringing guests. They're not guests, Hiro said. They're family. The suite was massive and sterile. In the center sat Hiroshi Tanaka, 71 years old and still commanding attention like a force of nature. Everything about him radiated control, from his razor-sharp suit to his unblinking stare. Hiro, he said in Japanese, not standing. I told you to come alone. And I told you I was bringing someone important. Father, this is Sarah Wilson. 7 years ago, I got her pregnant and abandoned her because you threatened to disown me if I didn't. Hiroshi's expression didn't change. I have no idea what you're talking about. Don't insult me by pretending. Sarah, tell him. Sarah stepped forward, voice steady despite her trembling hands. 7 years ago, your son told me he loved me. I got pregnant. He promised we'd find a way to make it work. Then he got on a plane back to Tokyo, and I never heard from him again. I raised our daughter alone, working 3 jobs because your son chose your money over his family. Hiroshi finally looked directly at Sarah. His gaze was ice. My son has responsibilities. You were a distraction from his duty. I was a person. I was pregnant with his child. I deserved better than abandonment. You were not suitable. You had nothing to offer him, no education, no family connections, no value to the Tanaka legacy. Emma suddenly stepped forward and bowed deeply, exactly as she'd learned from anime. Hajimemashite, Tanaka Hiroshi-sama, she said in perfect Japanese. Watashi wa Tanaka Emma to moshimasu. Anata no mago desu. It's nice to meet you, Mr. Hiroshi Tanaka. My name is Emma Tanaka. I am your granddaughter. The room went deathly silent. Hiroshi stared at the blonde American child who had just introduced herself flawlessly as his granddaughter. His eyes locked on hers, those unmistakable Tanaka blue-gray eyes looking back at him from an impossible face. What is this? He demanded. This, Hiro said, placing his hand on Emma's shoulder, is your granddaughter. Emma Johnson, 7 years old. Genius-level intelligence, fluent in Japanese after teaching herself from age 4, and you robbed me of knowing her because I was too much of a coward to stand up to you. Emma continued in Japanese, her voice clear and strong. Oji-sama, I studied Japanese culture because I thought it was beautiful. I learned about on and giri, debt and duty. I learned that family is the most important thing in Japanese culture, that honor means doing what's right, even when it's hard. She switched to English. But my daddy left us because he was scared of you. He chose money over us. And I grew up without a father because both of you cared more about business than people. Hiroshi's composure cracked slightly. He saw the Tanaka eyes, the family chin, the intelligence that ran through his bloodline. She's mine, Hiro said firmly. Ours. And you kept her from me because I was too weak to fight for what mattered. Hiroshi slowly sat back. So, I have a granddaughter. You could have, Sarah said coldly. But you don't. Grandfathers love their grandchildren. You're just the man who taught your son that money matters more than family. I did what was necessary to protect the family legacy. You did what was cruel, Hiro interrupted, voice shaking. My entire life you've controlled every choice I made through fear and manipulation. When I was 27, I fell in love with Sarah, and instead of supporting me, you threatened to destroy me if I didn't abandon her. And I did. I got on that plane. That's on me. But you created the cage I was living in. He stepped closer to his father. Do you know what your necessary protection has cost me? I have panic attacks from the stress of trying to be your perfect heir. I can't sleep, I can't breathe, and I missed 7 years of my daughter's life. Emma walked to the window looking out over the city. Mama says real strength isn't about having power over other people. It's about being brave enough to choose what's right, even when it costs you something. She turned back. My mama is the strongest person I know. She raised me by herself, working until she could barely stand, and she never once made me feel like I was too much or too hard. She made me feel loved every single day. Her voice grew quieter. I always wondered about my daddy, if he didn't love us, or if something bad happened to him. But now I know the truth. He wanted us. He just wasn't brave enough to fight for us. The words destroyed Hiro. Emma, you're right. I wasn't brave enough. I chose comfort and approval over the two people who should have mattered most. Then get brave, Emma said simply. That's what heroes do. They get brave. Hiroshi stood, and the room seemed to compress around him. Hiro, you have obligations. The board meeting is in 2 weeks. You will return to Tokyo, accept your position as CEO, and marry Akiko Matsumoto as arranged. This is not negotiable. And if I refuse? Then you are no longer my son. You will be removed from the company immediately, disinherited completely, cut off from every resource. You will have nothing. His voice was ice. Is this waitress and her child worth losing everything you've worked for? Sarah stepped back, face pale. Hiro, don't. I won't let you throw your life away for us. But Emma was looking at her father, waiting, those blue-gray eyes holding a question that would define everything. Hiro thought about 35 years of endless meetings and suffocating expectations, about standing in that Nebraska diner 7 years ago, plane ticket in hand, listening to Sarah beg him to stay, about Emma, teaching herself Japanese at age 4, desperate for any connection to the father who'd abandoned her. Father, Hiro said quietly, I've spent my entire life being your perfect heir. I've buried everything I cared about to fit into the role you designed for me. And where has it gotten me? Alone, miserable, having panic attacks in diners because I'm so desperate to escape the prison I've been living in. He walked to Sarah and Emma, placing himself between them and Hiroshi. These two people aren't just worth more than your company. They're worth more than everything you've ever offered me. Money, status, power, none of it means anything if I had to abandon my daughter to keep it. Hiroshi's face darkened. You would choose them over your duty? Over everything we've built? They are my duty. They should have been my priority 7 years ago. And I'm not making that mistake again. He knelt before Emma. Emma-chan, I know I haven't earned the right to call myself your father. I know I don't deserve a second chance, but I'm asking you, begging you, to let me try. Let me spend the rest of my life proving that you're more important to me than any inheritance. Emma threw her arms around his neck. You're already being brave, Daddy. Hiro stood, still holding Emma, and faced his father. I resigned from Tanaka Industries, effective immediately. I forfeit my inheritance, my position, everything. In return, you will leave Sarah and Emma alone. You will never contact them, never try to use them as leverage against me. They are off limits. You're making a catastrophic mistake. No, I'm fixing one. The mistake I made 7 years ago when I believed your threats mattered more than my family. He bowed deeply, Emma still in his arms. Thank you, Father, for teaching me exactly what kind of man I don't want to be. As they walked toward the door, Hiroshi's voice stopped them. You'll regret this. When the money runs out, when reality sets in, you'll realize what you've given up. Hiro turned back. I already know what I gave up. 7 years with my daughter. That's the only regret I'll carry. Emma tugged on his sleeve. Daddy, can we get pancakes now? Hiro laughed, genuinely free for the first time in his life. Yes, Emma-chan. We can get all the pancakes you want. Behind them, Hiro Tanaka sat alone in his expensive suite, watching his son walk away with the granddaughter he would never acknowledge. For the first time in 71 years, something that might have been regret flickered across his face. But he pushed it away, and the door closed. 2 days later, everything fell apart. Hiro was reading to Emma in Sarah's small apartment when someone knocked on the door. Sarah opened it to find 2 agents and a social worker standing in the hallway. Sarah Wilson? The lead agent asked. Yes? I'm Agent Martinez with Child Protective Services. We need to speak with you about your daughter Emma and some concerning information we've received. Hiro's blood went ice cold. He knew instantly. His father had found a new weapon. The agents came inside. Emma clung to her mother, sensing danger. Ms. Wilson, we've received a report alleging benefit fraud, specifically that you concealed the identity and financial status of your daughter's father while receiving public assistance. Sarah's face went white. That's not true. Emma's father abandoned us. I didn't know where he was or anything about his financial situation. But you know him now, the social worker said gently, looking at Hiro. And from what we understand, he's quite wealthy. I didn't know that 7 years ago, Sarah said desperately. He told me he was a mid-level manager. He lied about everything. I applied for assistance in good faith because I was a single mother with no support. We also have concerns about Emma's current living situation, the agent continued. Given the allegations, the conflicting stories about paternity, and Mr. Tanaka's recent presence, we need to conduct a full investigation. And during that investigation, he paused, we may need to place Emma in temporary protective custody. No! Emma screamed. She ran to Hiro and wrapped her arms around his legs. No, please, Daddy, don't let them take me! Hiro dropped to his knees, holding Emma while his heart shattered. I won't let them. Mr. Tanaka, the social worker said, I understand this is difficult, but we have procedures. Until paternity is legally established and we can verify Ms. Wilson's claims, I'll take a DNA test right now, today, whatever you need. That will help, but the investigation could still take weeks, and there are documented communications suggesting your father, Hiro Tanaka, may have orchestrated false reports against Ms. Wilson. Until we sort through all of this. How long? Sarah demanded, tears streaming. 2 to 4 weeks, possibly longer. Emma was sobbing hysterically now, clinging to Hiro with desperate strength. Daddy, please. I'll be good. I promise I'll be really good. Please don't let them take me away. Emma, listen to me, Hiro said, holding her face in his hands. I will get you back, I promise you. I'm going to fight harder than I've ever fought for anything. But what if you can't? Emma sobbed. What if the mean grandfather wins again? He won't. Emma, look at me. I chose you over everything. I'm not giving up now. Do you understand? This time, I'm fighting. I'm scared, Emma whispered. I'm scared too. But I'm not leaving you. Not really. I'll be there every day they'll let me. And then, I'm bringing you home. The social worker approached gently. Emma, honey, I know this is frightening, but we're going to take you somewhere safe while we figure everything out. I'm safe here, Emma screamed. I'm safe with my mama and daddy. It took 2 agents to finally separate Emma from Hiro. Her screams echoed through the building as they carried her out. Daddy! Mama! Please don't let them take me! Please! The last thing Hiro saw was Emma's face pressed against the car window, tears streaming, mouth forming, "Daddy," over and over as they drove away. Sarah collapsed on the floor, sobbing. Hiro sat beside her, letting himself break down completely. "I did this," he whispered. "This is my fault. My father did this." Sarah grabbed his shirt. "Then fix it. Get our daughter back." Hiro pulled out his phone with shaking hands and called the lawyer he'd hired 2 days ago. "I need an emergency custody hearing. I need DNA testing expedited to 24 hours, and I need forensic accountants to trace every piece of evidence they used against Sarah because it's fabricated. All of it." "Hiro, the system moves slowly." "Then make it move fast. I'll pay whatever it costs. I'll call in every favor, but I'm not leaving my daughter in the system one day longer than absolutely necessary." That night, Hiro couldn't sleep. He sat in Sarah's living room, staring at Emma's empty bed through the open doorway. Sarah sat beside him, both of them broken. "I looked into the investigation," Hiro said quietly. "My father provided bank statements showing transfers to accounts in your name. Wire records showing you'd received money while collecting benefits. All of it fake. He built a complete paper trail to destroy you." "He's weaponizing Emma," Sarah said, voice hollow. "Using her to force you back to Tokyo." Hiro's phone buzzed, an unknown number with a photo attachment. The photo showed Emma in a stark foster bedroom, sitting on a bare mattress, clutching her Japanese notebook. Her face was swollen from crying. Below the image, "Still think you made the right choice? Sign the papers. Accept your position. Return to Tokyo. This all goes away in 24 hours. You have 72 hours to decide. Father." Hiro stared at the message. Rage built in his chest, a cold, focused fury he'd never felt before. Sarah read over his shoulder and made a sound of pure anguish. "He's tormenting her. He's tormenting your daughter to get what he wants." "I know." "So what are you going to do? If you go back to him, if you give in, he'll know he can do this again any time. He'll own us, forever." Hiro looked at Emma's empty bed, at Sarah's tear-stained face, at the photo of his daughter suffering because he'd dared to choose her over money. "I'm going to court," he said quietly, "and I'm going to expose him for what he is." 3 days later, the courtroom was packed. Hiro sat with his attorneys, Emma's DNA test results in hand, 99.9% probability of paternity. Across the aisle, a state attorney represented CPS's Eurofit investigation, and in the back row, Hiro Tanaka sat watching with cold satisfaction. Judge Patricia Morrison called the court to order. "Emergency custody hearing in the matter of Emma Catherine Wilson Tanaka. Mr. Tanaka, you're petitioning for joint custody with Ms. Wilson?" "Yes, Your Honor." "The state has concerns," the state attorney said, standing. "Ms. Wilson faces potential fraud charges, and Mr. Tanaka abandoned this child at birth. We question both parents' fitness." "I'd like to address that, Your Honor," Hiro said, standing. Judge Morrison looked surprised. "Go ahead." "Your Honor, 7 years ago, I got Sarah Wilson pregnant. When she told me, when she begged me to stay and be a father to our child, I got on a plane back to Tokyo. I abandoned her when she was 6 months pregnant." His voice was steady, clear. "I abandoned my pregnant girlfriend because I was terrified of losing my father's approval, because he threatened to disown me if I chose her. So I chose his money instead." The courtroom was silent. For 7 years, I told myself I'd made the mature choice, that I was being responsible. But the truth is, I was a coward, and my daughter paid the price for my cowardice. He turned to look at Emma, who sat between two social workers in the front row. Emma grew up without a father. She taught herself Japanese, my native language, starting at age 4, because she thought maybe if she could speak to me, I might hear her somehow and come back. His voice cracked. A 4-year-old child teaching herself a foreign language because she was desperate for any connection to the father who abandoned her. And I wasn't there. I chose to not be there. Judge Morrison leaned forward. Mr. Tanaka, where is this testimony going? I'm telling you the truth, Your Honor, because my daughter deserves a father who tells the truth. 3 weeks ago, Emma saved my life. I was having a panic attack in a diner, and this 7-year-old girl I'd never met spoke to me in perfect Japanese, calmed me down, got me help. She gave me a second chance I didn't deserve. And when I realized she was mine, when I looked into her eyes and saw the Tanaka family trait looking back at me, I knew I had another choice to make. He gestured to the back of the courtroom. My father, Hiro Tanaka, demanded I return to Tokyo, accept my position as CEO, and marry according to his arrangements. When I refused, when I chose my daughter instead, he did this. He fabricated fraud charges against Sarah. He created false bank records, fake wire transfers, all designed to make it look like Sarah had hidden income while receiving benefits. His attorney stood presenting documents. Your Honor, we have forensic evidence. Bank accounts created in Ms. Wilson's name without her knowledge. IP addresses showing these accounts were accessed exclusively from Tokyo. Wire transfers that were initiated but reversed before Ms. Wilson could access them. This is a sophisticated frame job designed by a man with unlimited resources. The state attorney looked shaken. Your Honor, if this is accurate, the charges are based on fabricated evidence. They are fabricated, Hiro said forcefully. My father orchestrated this entire investigation to punish me for refusing to abandon my family a second time. And when legal pressure wasn't enough, he did something unforgivable. He pulled out his phone and handed it to the bailiff. 3 nights ago, my father sent me photos of Emma crying in her foster placement, along with a message. Sign the papers. Accept your position. Return to Tokyo. This all goes away in 24 hours. Judge Morrison's expression darkened as she reviewed the evidence. Mr. Hiro Tanaka, do you have anything to say? Hiroshi stood with dignity. My son is making desperate accusations. Did you send these messages or not? A pause. I was attempting to show my son the consequences of his irresponsible choices. By traumatizing a 7-year-old child? The judge's voice was ice. You weaponized the child welfare system to manipulate your son into obeying you? I was protecting the family legacy. You were abusing your power and tormenting an innocent child. Judge Morrison's hands were shaking with anger. Mr. Hiro Tanaka, you are hereby ordered to have no contact whatsoever with Emma Johnson or Sarah Wilson. Any violation will result in immediate criminal charges. Am I clear? Hiroshi sat down, face rigid. The judge turned to Hiro. Mr. Tanaka, you abandoned your child. That is unconscionable. But I'm also looking at a father who just walked away from $1 billion inheritance to choose his daughter, who exposed his own failures in open court, who's fighting to make this right. She paused. Emma, can you come up here? Emma walked forward, small and frightened. Emma, do you want to go home with your mother and father? Yes, Emma whispered. Please, I just want to go home. Then here's my ruling. The fraud charges against Ms. Wilson are dismissed immediately, pending full investigation of Mr. Hiro Tanaka's actions. Mr. Hiro Tanaka, I'm granting you temporary joint custody with Ms. Wilson with a review in 6 months. You will undergo parenting classes, family therapy with Emma, and regular check-ins with social services. This is not forgiveness for your abandonment. This is a chance to do better. Don't waste it. I won't, Your Honor. I promise. Emma, go to your parents. Emma ran to Hiro and Sarah, and they caught her together, holding her while she sobbed with relief. Behind them, Hiroshi stood alone. For just a moment, his mask slipped. Something almost like regret flickered across his face as he watched his son hold the granddaughter he'd tormented. Then he turned and walked out, alone. The door closed behind him with finality. 6 months later, Emma's bedroom was filled with music. She and her friend from therapy, another girl who'd been in foster care, were practicing the dance routine Emma had choreographed, moving in perfect synchronization. Emma was teaching, patient and encouraging, the way good teachers are. Sarah stood in the doorway watching, and Hiro slipped his arm around her waist. She's happy, Sarah said softly. She's home. 6 months of family therapy had been brutal, but necessary. Hiro had faced every failure, learning to be a father instead of just a provider. Sarah had learned to trust again, slowly letting down walls built from years of abandonment. And Emma had taught them both that love meant showing up every single day, even when it was hard. The board called again, Hiro said quietly. They want me back. My father stepped down last month. Health issues, apparently. They're offering me full control, no interference. Sarah tensed. And? I told them I'd consider it, only if they relocate headquarters to Omaha. Only if my contract guarantees I work no more than 40 hours a week with 0 travel. Only if they understand that my family comes first. Always. No exceptions. What did they say? They're deciding. But Sarah, if they say no, I walk away. I don't need Tanaka Industries. I need you and Emma. That's all I need. Sarah kissed him. I know. You've proven that every single day for 6 months. Emma called from her room. Daddy, come dance with us. Hiro laughed and let Emma pull him into the routine. He was terrible, tripping over his own feet, but Emma giggled and patiently corrected him while her friend watched with amusement. No, Daddy, it's step, touch, turn, not step, turn, touch. I'm trying. Try harder. But she was laughing, and that was everything. Because this was what fatherhood actually meant. Not board meetings or inherited wealth or maintaining a legacy. It was showing up, trying, choosing his daughter over everything else, every single day, even when it was hard. It was dancing badly in Emma's bedroom while she giggled. It was helping with homework and reading bedtime stories and sitting through every parent-teacher conference. It was being present for the small moments that, together, built a life. As they danced, the billionaire heir who'd learned humility, the single mother who'd learned to trust, and the brilliant child who'd saved them both, Hiro finally understood what he'd been too young to grasp 7 years ago. Love wasn't about grand gestures or inherited empires. It was about this: his daughter's laugh, Sarah's hand in his, a modest home filled with music and dance and family. It was about choosing right every day, no matter what it cost. And for the first time in his life, Hiro Tanaka was rich in the ways that actually mattered.